Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing nonprofit, educational, or personal use, tips a balance in favor of fair use. Okay, this comes from cs.cmu.edu. I think maybe this is from a book by Marjorie Wakefield. Chapter 11. Ethics, the greatest good for the great number of dynamics. That's also groupthink, hive mind. Hubbard does not bother to justify the inhumanity of his ethics. If families are broken up, if friends are turned against friends, if suicides occur, if an entrapment of the very spirit that makes humans human should occur, then that is subsidiary to the aim to prove Hubbard right. After all, as he is careful to instill into the outlook of his followers, anything that happens to anyone is fully and totally that person's own responsibility. They pull it in on themselves, don't they? The Mindbenders, by Cyril Vosper. Romeo 2-45. An enormously effective process for exteriorization, but its use is frowned upon by this society at this time. Scientology's execution procedure from Creation of Human Ability by L. Ron Hubbard. The systems of thought and mind control devised by Hubbard in Scientology were very good, but not perfect. As in all organizations, there would inevitably be a few troublesome souls who would question, doubt, and generally resist the program. It was to deal with this troublesome remnant that Hubbard developed his system of ethics, a system which would effectively close the loop of social control in Scientology. Like being sent to the principal's office in grade school, the order to go to ethics strikes certain terror in the soul of a Scientologist. This is because the ethics officer holds the ultimate power in Scientology. The power to apply the dreaded label of suppressive person and to cast a member out of Scientology and into spiritual oblivion for millions of lifetimes to come. A Scientologist will do almost anything to stay out of trouble with ethics. Children as well, people. Children, 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 children. Ding-a-ding-a-ding-ding. Ethics is defined in Scientology as rationality toward the highest level of survival along the dynamics. But in Scientology, ethics has to do primarily with the group being Scientology. Anything that promotes Scientology or benefits Scientology is therefore defined as ethical. Whereas anything which is contra survival for Scientology becomes by definition unethical. Yeah, you would know, wouldn't you, Hubbard? Doing all those drugs. Similarly, there is a phrase frequently heard in Scientology: the greatest good for the greatest number of dynamics. Meaning that which is good for the group, Scientology, and for mankind, is more important and takes precedence over that which is good for the individual. A dangerous philosophy. The chart of ethics conditions in Scientology is as follows, in descending sequence: power, power change, affluence, normal operation, emergency, danger, non-existence, liability, doubt, enemy, treason, confusion. The theory in Scientology is that a person will always be in one of these conditions with regard to any area of life. So a person could be in a condition of affluence at his job, a condition of emergency in his marriage, a condition of non-existence in his finances, a condition of normal operation with his health, etc. This applies to children as well, people. And for each of the conditions, Hubbard devised a formula, which, if applied, is supposed to cause the person to progress to the next higher condition. That some of these formulas may not make much sense does not matter, because Ron Hubbard has said this is what they are. They must be right, right? The formula for the condition of confusion is simply find out where you are. Once it has been done, the person will move up to treason, for which the formula is find out that you are. In enemy, the formula is find out who you really are. The formula for doubt is a bit more complex. When one cannot make up one's mind as to an individual, a group, organization, or project, a condition of doubt exists. The formula is 1. Inform oneself honestly of the actual intentions and activities of that individual, group, project, or organization, brushing aside all bias and rumor. 2. Examine the statistics of the individual, group, project, or organization. 3. Decide on the basis of the greatest good for the greatest number of dynamics, whether or not it should be attacked, harmed, or suppressed, or helped. Isn't that funny? In Scientology, they do everything to work against these dynamics. Separating couples, separating parents from their children. Five. Wait, where was I? Okay, I'm going to do 4 again. Sorry if I'm doing it again. Evaluate oneself or one's own group, project, or organization as to intentions and objectives. 5. Evaluate one's own or one's group, project, or organization's statistics. 6. Join or remain in or befriend the one which progresses toward the greatest good for the greatest number of dynamics, and announce the fact publicly to both sides. 7. Do everything possible to improve the actions and statistics of the person, group, project, or organization one has remained in or joined. 8. Suffer on up through the conditions in the new group if one has changed sides, or the conditions of the group one has remained in, if wavering from it has lowered one's status. Now, upgraded by the ethics officer to a condition of liability, the formula is 1. Decide who are one's friends. 2. Deliver an effective blow to the enemies of the group one has been pretending to be part of, despite personal danger. 3. Make up the damage one has done by personal contribution, far beyond the ordinary demands of a group member. 4. Apply for re-entry to the group by asking the permission of each member. Remember how the child Scientologists talked about they had to do this when they were in the cadet org, the Delphi Academy. What is it? The other one was, I think, A through E school, something like that in Los Angeles. Yeah, the kids do it too. Isn't that wonderful? Don't have your own individual thoughts. 4. Apply for re-entry to the group by asking the permission of each member of it to rejoin, and rejoining only by majority permission. And if refused, repeating steps 2 to 4 until one is allowed to be a group member again. You guys know how many crimes have been committed under groupthink? Just look around. When a person first begins a job in Scientology, like a kid, he starts off in a condition of non-existence, for which the formula is 1. Find a comm line, communication. 2. Make yourself known. 3. Discover what is needed and wanted. 4. Do, produce, and or present it. In other words, find out what needs to be done and do it. Having done that, one is now in a condition of danger. This condition applies when an activity is in trouble. The formula is 1. Bypass, ignore the junior in charge of the activity and handle it personally. 2. Handle the situation and any danger in it. 3. Assign the area where it had to be handled a danger condition. 4. Handle the personnel by ethics investigation. 5. Reorganize the activity so that the situation will not repeat. 6. Recommend any firm policy that will hereafter detect and or prevent the condition from recurring. When the person has gotten his activity out of danger, he or she is then in a condition of emergency, for which the formula is 1. Promote and produce. 2. Change your operating basis. 3. Economize. I heard someone talking about that the other day. Economize. 4. Then prepare to deliver. 5. Stiffen discipline or stiffen ethics. If the person has successfully applied the emergency formula, the condition of normal operation now applies, and its formula is 1. Don't change anything. 2. Ethics are mild. 3. If a statistic betters, look it over carefully and find out what bettered it, and then do that without abandoning what you were doing before. Just had this thought, too. Statistics is all about production, how they implant that into the child's mind. Production statistics, production statistics, production statistics. Go check out Metropolis. I'm telling you guys. Go watch it. I think it's free on YouTube. Four, every time a statistic worsens slightly, quickly find out why and remedy it. If things are going well and the formula for normal operation has been applied for a period of time, then the person could be said to be in a condition of affluence, for which the formula is. I just had this thought. That would be when the stats are up, right? Remember how, what was his name? I think his name is Chris Mallon. When he was auditing the pedo was fine to be in Scientology as long as he was in affluence or had his stats up. Chris Mallon. Two, pay every bill. 1, economize. Be sure you don't buy anything with a future commitment to it. Yeah, how do you do that with $47 a week? 3, invest the remainder in service facilities. Make it more possible to deliver. 4, discover what caused the condition of affluence and strengthen it. It's how they get so much money, you guys. It's just typical sales right here. If things are going really well, the person may make a power change into another area of endeavor. If not, the person is in a condition of power, for which the only rule is, don't disconnect. Take ownership and responsibility for your connections. These are the ethics conditions in Scientology, and they are taken very seriously. Each week, each person, to include children, working for the organization, i.e. on staff, they miraculously always leave out the children, don't they? Fort Harrison staff, 90% children. And everybody's just MF fine with that. Each week, each person working for the organization, i.e. on staff, will turn in his or her stats to the ethics officer. The person will be assigned a condition by the ethics officer and will be required to apply the appropriate formula for that condition to their job. In addition, the ethics officer can assign a person a condition in any area of his personal life, and the person must apply the appropriate formula and submit a written application to the ethics officer for upgrading to the next higher condition. For the Scientologist, the ethics conditions and their formulas is a way of life. Another function of ethics in Scientology is the administration of security checks to members. Security checks, called sec checks, are administered with the member on the e-meter. Yeah, they love to sec check the children. It's a really big thing. Just read Jenna Miscavige's book, Beyond Belief. With the member, like a child, on the e-meter. In this case, the e-meter is used as a lie detector. The first sec check encountered by a member will be the staff questionnaire, which is given when the person first joins staff. Some of the items on this questionnaire are 1. Name. 2. Life history. 3. How did you come into Scientology? 4. History in Scientology. 5. Do you have any psychiatric institutional history? 7. Do you have a criminal record? 8. Do you have any crimes for which you could be arrested? 9. Do you have any physical disabilities or illnesses? Oh, watch out answering that, because you will be considered degraded. Go look into some of the first-hand accounts of children in the Wally Hanks School, whatever that was. Yeah, the Wally Hanks School, where they heinously abused one of the disabled children there. And the child, I wished I remembered his name. I should have written it down. The child that was severely disabled, you know how he got disabled? Because the adults were not paying attention, watching him, and he got a head injury. Isn't that wonderful? Yeah, they had this kid just doing all kinds of manual labor. Janie's got a gun. Ten, do you have any record of insanity? 11, are you connected to anyone who is antagonistic to Scientology or spiritual healing? Yeah, in other words, like a suppressive. 17, have any of your family members threatened to sue or attack or embarrass Scientology? Don't answer it, because then you are PTS. Potential trouble source. 26. What are the details of your 2D, second dynamic, or love life? It's just sex life, basically, isn't it? This is the sickest stuff. They ask children this stuff. History over the last year with names and dates. That's their blackmail material. Some of it. 27. Have you any homosexual or lesbian history? When and with whom? 28. Drug history. Mind you, LRH was doing so many drugs. He had a cabinet full of drugs, and all labeled. 31. Are you here for any different purpose than you say? Paranoid much? Sec checks are a fact of life in Scientology. It must be remembered that, should a member defect, their ethics folders with the written answers to these questions can be used per guardian's order. Guardian's order. 121669, to blackmail or otherwise intimidate the defector. Wonder who wrote that one. One of the earliest sec checks was called the Joburg, which was developed in Johannesburg, South Africa, and was a much feared security check for many years. Sample questions from this interrogation include the following. Have you ever stolen anything? Have you ever been in prison? Have you ever embezzled money? Have you ever been in jail? Have you ever had anything to do with pornography? Children are asked this too. Have you ever been a drug addict? More blackmail material. You know, Drug-Free America? Do you have a police record? Have you ever AR'd anyone? Yeah, you know, because children all day long do that, right? Well, some of them actually do. The ones that have been abused themselves sometimes do that. But they shouldn't be asked that question. Have you ever been involved in an abortion? Yeah, what about the forced ones? Does that mean the forced ones too? Have you ever committed adultery? Have you ever practiced homosexuality? This is sexual child abuse right here, you guys. Have you ever had intercourse with a member of your family? You guys know who does that openly, right? You know what kind of cults do that, right? Have you ever slept with a member of a race of another color? Have you ever bombed anything? B-O-M-B-E-D. Have you ever murdered anyone? Have you ever been a communist? Have you ever been a newspaper reporter? Have you ever ill-treated children? Isn't that funny? Calling the kettle black? Have you ever had anything to do with a baby farm? By the way, you guys, baby farms do exist. It's dark. Are you afraid of the police? Have you ever done anything your mother would be ashamed to find out? Oh, there's some good blackmail material. Turn the mother against the child? How do you feel about sex? Wouldn't you guys love to know what a 5-year-old thinks about that? Right? I'm joking, you know. How do you feel about being controlled? That's the mockery, you guys. That's where the mockery comes in. Later, the contents of the security check were revised to the only valid security check, which contains many of the same questions, with the addition of several others. Hold on, guys. Okay, I'm not going to read all of the questions from the sec checks because I've already done that. So I'm going past all of the security check questions to what she continues. Similar to security checks is another assignment frequently meted out by the ethics officer, and that is the assignment to write up one's OWs, overts and withholds, which in Scientology means all the things one has ever done wrong, overts, and especially those which someone else almost found out about. This will commonly be assigned to a person who is in the process of working out of a condition of enemy. Children, too, are labeled enemies. Just go watch Kelly Copter. The ethics officer is usually not satisfied until many pages of OWs have been produced by the properly repentant member. It's a shame, guys. They got to instill that shame inside of you. At one point, the member in a closet for 2 or more days. At one point in Scientology, it was a practice to lock the member in a closet for 2 or more days while he wrote up his sins. If a person in Scientology should become querulous, especially should he find fault with something written by Hubbard, or should he doubt some point of dogma, that person will be quickly isolated from the other students and dispatched to ethics until his overts can be discovered and dealt with. Oh, I've read this, you guys. So I'm not gonna beat the drum over and over. Okay, I'm skipping through some things because I've already touched on some of this stuff. I don't want to keep repeating. In the case of persons who become actual enemies of the organization, yeah, like Helicopter, who was 6, ethics order of fair game can be applied, which means that these persons may be deprived of property or injured by any means, by any Scientologist without any discipline of the Scientologist, may be tricked, sued, lied, or destroyed. At one time, Hubbard ordered the ultimate punishment for 13 people who had defected as enemies from the organization. Hubbard ordered that the auditing process R245 be used on these people if they were seen by any Scientologist. R245 is a term understood by every Scientologist. When he first demonstrated it, it is fabled that Hubbard shot a Colt 45 revolver through the floor of the stage he was lecturing from. Yeah, I read this too. Okay, hold on. In Scientology, if you see someone doing something wrong, you are obligated to write up a knowledge report on that person to be sent to ethics for handling. Hubbard justified this system in a policy letter called Knowledge Reports, in which he says, to live at all, one has to exert some control over his equals as well as his juniors, and believe it or not, his superiors, and get a real group in return that collectively can control the environment and prosper because its group members individually help control each other. That's your answer right there. And the entrainment, the brainwashing, the mind control, especially in the RPF and the RPF's RPF, programs the person's mind so strongly that they control themselves. Okay, guys. I don't think I've read this whole one, but I was reading something similar the other day. So I don't know if it merged into the same article or what. But anyways, you still got the information. And I will leave a link in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose. Otherwise, have an amazing day or night wherever you are. Peace.